Call this meeting of the Chippewa County Board of Commissioners to order. This is our regular board meeting for July 16th, July of 2018. And as always, we start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Egan, why don't you start us off with a pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And will the clerk please take roll call attendance?
Commissioner Egan.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Here.
Commissioner McLean.
Here.
Commissioner Savoy.
Here.
And Chairman Shackleton.
Here. Everybody's here. We proceed with item number 4, additions, deletions, and agenda approval.
Move approval of the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion is made to approve and proceed with the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed vote nay. Motion carries. We move to approval of the county board minutes. That is the regular board meeting of June 11th, 2018.
Move to approve the board minutes as presented.
Support.
Motion is made and supported that we approve the board minutes of January 11th. All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed vote nay. Motion carries. On page 15, item number 6 is correspondence received in the clerk's office. And looks like we've got a lot of correspondence this month.
I move we acknowledge and forward to appropriate.
Support.
Motion's made to acknowledge and forward as needed for the correspondence. Any discussion on the motion?
Just there's a number of resolutions in there, and I think we're going to be looking at them along legislative resolutions.
Okay. We can certainly do that. All in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed vote nay. Motion carries. We move to public comments. Item 7. If you'd like to speak under public comments, as always, we keep it to how many minutes for one speaker? 5 minutes for one speaker, 15 minutes for any single subject, right? Please come out and have at it.
Honor Chairman Shackleton, honorable members of Board of Chippewa County. My name is Tim Mover. I want to address the memorandum of understanding that was entered into between the United States Coast Guard and the Eastern Upper Peninsula Transportation Authority. This is just between U.S. Coast Guard and UPTA regarding the ferry system in the St. Mary's River. Before I begin to address that, I want to just remind everyone that our ferry crossing is naturally ice-free because of water speed, just like the Power Canal. This memorandum of understanding was supposedly entered into between the Coast Guard and UPTA pursuant to 14 U.S.C. 141. If you will recall, you supported a request for assistance to the Commandant of the Coast Guard, which was also pursuant to 14 U.S.C. 141, that UPTA did not want to have anything to do with. Ultimately, they supported that request for assistance, along with the county, the city, and the two signatories were the tribes, and the other signatory was Sugar Island. We saw the Admiral, we sent letters, we tried to get in touch with the Coast Guard, to no avail. And then suddenly, UPTA was involved in doing this memorandum of understanding, and it is horrible for our community, absolutely horrible. I'm assuming that you have the memorandum in front of you. I'd like to take you right down to 4B, where it says the U.S. Coast Guard dispatches ice-breaking resources to meet the following service priorities. There are 4 of them, and they're contained in the Commandant's instructions done in 2011. Go right to number 3. That's the one that concerns us. It has not the language that the Commandant's instruction has. The language that is used in this memorandum is different from the Commandant's instructions that the Coast Guard is bound by. They've modified the language so that this improves the Coast Guard's position in not helping the ferry system in the St. Mary's River. Number 4 is the same thing. This language is not anything like the language in the Commandant's instructions. The next one, C, it talks about reducing the need for Coast Guard ice-breaking assistance by using vessels adequately powered and constructed. I think they're hinting that we need a new ferry. And this does not jive with the facilitation and navigation. They have, in the winter, a barge and tug that come up here, which got stuck in the ice in 2014, wasn't be able to take out till spring. Needed a full Mackinac escort this year. They allow this facilitation of navigation with a barge and tug, but they're telling us we need to buy a new multi-million-dollar ferry. Our ferry was delivered in 1995 when the Coast Guard was really taking care of the ferry system. They were clearing the Little Rapids Cut. There was a 140-foot icebreaker that was going to Lake Huron and back to Sault Ste. Marie every single day. We were being taken care of very well. And they talk about the Tier 1 waterway of the Index D that connects the Great Lakes. And they have reduced the mainland and island landings of the ferry system to Tier 4. That is the lowest tier that you can have. Now, it says Tier 4 waterways are wholly private and non-federally maintained waterways, piers or docks. We are essential public transportation. We are not private. The slips were paid for with federal funds. So this Tier 4 doesn't even apply to us. If you continue down to responsibilities, under number 3, upon receiving a report that excessive ice cover interrupts ferry service to Sugar Island, Nevis Island, or Drummond Island, communicate with operators of the affected Utica ferry to determine their ability to operate, including emergency transport. This tells us right here that they are not going to do preventive braking like we asked in the request for assistance. This agreement conflicts with current law. There is no mention of the obstruction laws, the breaking out of West Nevis Channel, that they're going to change their course on that, which stranded the Nevis Islanders for 26 days. Our request for assistance was done before that. We were already in a mode to improve our ferry system treatment before the Nevis Island went down 26 days. No public comment on this memorandum of understanding. It is obvious that no attorney reviewed this for UPTA. This document has actually lessened our position that we were already trying to improve. This is going backwards. And what I would like to suggest is that we get together with the ad hoc committee that's going to be formed today and sit down with Mr. Peramsky, the executive director of UPTA, and have him explain how this helps us and why 5 entities, including 2 tribes, the county, the city, and Sugar Island, were not consulted on this when we filed a request for assistance. That's about what I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else care to speak under public comment? This is your opportunity.
Mike McCarthy with the Chippewa Loose Mackinac Conservation District. I just wanted to provide you guys with a 6-month update of Chippewa County activities for the Conservation District. So currently we are working with 16 employees. 10 of those are specific to the invasive species program. They are currently this week on Drummond Island on the Maxim Plains, completing surveying work and treatment work for invasive species on that critical habitat area. We're working under 10 grants and agreements this year. A few of those are specific to Chippewa County. So the hunting access program covers 5,200 acres and about $30,000 in landowner incentives to host small game and sharp-tailed grouse hunting properties in the area. As I just mentioned, the Maxim Plains German Island invasive species work, that was an agreement that we signed onto with the DNR this spring. That's DNR general fund monies that we got for that, so that's a big deal. We also signed on with the DNR to do some specific work on the Muniscan watershed this summer as well. And that's also a big deal because that was GLRI money that was given to the DNR. They could not spend it, so they gave it to us to do. And we are well on our way to taking care of that. Also, soil erosion and sedimentation control authority that you guys have granted the conservation district. They have 106 open permits this summer going so far. So just a little brief number breakdown there. So far in 6 months, we've driven over 10,000 miles across Chippewa County, and this is specific to Chippewa. 171 individual site visits, and a coverage of about a little over 11,000 acres there that we've covered for Chippewa County this year. So we are busy beavers right now, and I just wanted to make sure you guys were well aware of what the Conservation District is accomplishing for Chippewa County. If we added in Mackinac and Luce, that number would obviously increase quite greatly as well. So.
Okay.
But Chippewa County, it does account for about 85% of our total work that we complete. So.
Great. Thank you very much for the update.
You're welcome.
Anybody else care to speak under public comment? Last chance. I declare public comment period to be closed. We move to administrator's report.
You'll see all the various reports included: Public Defender, Health Department, Animal Control, War Memorial, Vets, Sheriff's Department. If you have any questions on any of the reports, please let Kelly or I know. You also see a sample of resolutions, some of which Commissioner McLean had given me the other day. Some of them are very interesting. I think one of the very interesting ones is the amendment to local sheriff Saginaw County on page 56. It seems to coincide what some of our worst fears were, and that maybe this Michigan Indigent Defense Council we're not going to get fully reimbursed. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the administrator's report? Then we move to old business. We don't have anything itemized, but I think this would be the appropriate area to take up the Community Action Agency board appointment issue. Mr. Martin, do you want to address that?
Okay, so we're gonna do that before we do the committee?
We need, pardon?
I was just looking at,
Yeah, that's it's gonna go under old business.
okay.
We can,
I quite frankly think we shouldn't lose a seat on that board. And to do so, we're abandoning our responsibility to that board. And so I don't think we should drop this. We need to pursue other avenues, maybe get legal assistance or advice as to where to go here. And we've always had a good working relationship,
yes, we have.
and this shouldn't stop it, but I'm not comfortable, especially with conditions under which Commissioner Egan left. I'm not comfortable leaving the door open like this, and then we have a precedent of other boards deciding that they don't want Chippewa County Commissioners on there, at least not people that we appoint as kind of as watchdogs, because that's really our job anyhow, we have all these ancillary committees and boards, and it's our job to oversee them, and we could obviously appoint one of us to do that, or we could appoint somebody else, and that is totally at our discretion, at your discretion, which of course you did with Anthony Stackpool. And I don't feel comfortable at all letting this go.
correction, it wasn't just Anthony Stackpole, it was the person we nominated before him. Did they not stipulate to us that our first appointment, which was Don Cooper, was not appropriate because it had to be an elected official?
Oh, I think, just to clarify that, let me clarify the whole issue, if I may, because I think
Yeah,
some people are
please.
probably scratching their head when we're talking about. Mr. Egan resigned from the board and I think talked about his frustration serving on the board and left a position open. It was communicated to us that any replacement needed to be a public official, because that's what it said in their bylaws, that we needed to appoint a public official. I don't think we made any other appointment. I think we had talked about
Okay,
perhaps former Commissioner Cooper being one option. If he was even interested, we don't know, but then it was pointed out that no, you have to be a public official.
Elected, countywide,
I don't know if it
elected, I
says
thought it was
it.
elected.
You know, in
countywide.
their bylaws, it just says, public official.
And
It
was
doesn't say.
that community action that pointed that out to us?
Yes, yes, they said when you make an appointment to fill that, it has to be a public official. So we said, well, our commissioners are all pretty committed in lots of other things. The drain commissioner is a public official and is a downtown businessman, you know, working and owning property close to community action agency. Perhaps he'd be interested, and I think he is, mentioned he would be interested in taking that position. Anyway, they communicate to us that, oh, never mind, that position's been filled. Well, it is the county's role to fill that, and that's what it says in their bylaws. And it is an important oversight that, as Mr. Martin, Commissioner Martin pointed out, that we don't necessarily want to just walk away from, especially when it says pretty clearly in their bylaws that it's an appointment to be made by this board, by this chair. So, anyway, to clarify that a little bit.
But they did
Go back.
acknowledge that we had a position available. At one point, they acknowledged it and told us it had to be an elected official or
Public official.
a public official.
I think is what the wording was.
So then we find one and they say it was filled. How did they claim that it was filled, by the way?
I believe they say they filled it themselves, but their policies do not have a provision to allow that.
Commissioner,
Go ahead.
I think we're making a big deal out of something that doesn't require that. Now that I'm on the Community Action Board, and I sat through part of this. I missed when Commissioner Egan resigned, okay? I was away. But I think we're making a big issue out of something that is unnecessarily being made an issue of. They appointed Kathy Twardy to fill your position. They looked at their board and they said, okay, rather than going back to the county, they're having difficulty filling it because I'd mentioned that we do not have a lot of commissioners that are interested in serving in positions. And if anybody can dispute that, step forward, because I've got a couple of boards and commissions that I would let you take care of. Okay, so I indicated a reality. They said, well, we could have Kathy, who's just appointed. She's on the city commission, if nobody knows. She's on the city commission. She's an elected official from Chippewa County. We could move her to fill this elected official position. Kathy's been on there for about a year or so. And then we could go out and fill Kathy's position with another person from the general public who are willing to serve. Okay, now, if we're not willing to acknowledge that we have a tough time filling positions with commissioners, then I think we're fooling ourselves. Now, if we go out and hire a lawyer to look this all over, they're going to have a lawyer and they're going to look it all over. And the lawyers are going to decide, and we're going to be out thousands of dollars. Kathy Twardy is a good person. She does a good job. She's a county elected official. She represents Sault Ste. Marie. Now, I just believe that it's good as it is. We've had a good relationship with Community Action up to this point. I've been on the board for about 10 years now. We haven't had any issues before. And let's move on, rather than spending thousands of dollars trying to find out what word in this contract or these bylaws and what this is and that is and so on and so forth. and let's continue a reasonable working relationship because Kathy is going to do a good job. So, that's my opinion.
I agree with everything you're saying, but what's the point of having bylaws if we don't adhere to them? It's the way the process was done, not who was appointed. I agree that Kathy Twardy would do a good job. She's a city elected official, not a county. And she's a good person and interested in that. But at what point do we establish the health department can break the rules, or the sheriff can break the rules? Bylaws are established that are fair to everyone, and it's the process here that's wrong, not the person.
May I?
Yeah, let me just, real quick, I just want to point out too that I agree with you, Commissioner McLean, that Kathy Twardy, City Commissioner, fine person, and will certainly do a good job on that board. And that this certainly is not about Kathy Twardy. She has my respect and admiration for the job she does for our community. The point is, I think though, that if you look at the bylaws of Community Action Agency, it's really very clear the way it's written. The Community Action Agency itself does not have the ability to appoint to its board the two positions of elected county officials or public officials, which do not necessarily have to be county commissioners. Could be the county clerk, could be the county treasurer, could be different county officials. Was given to the county in their policies, and it's an important oversight to participate in. And it's a big board, it's 18 people. So I think the county, several commissioners have felt that we don't want to give up those two positions, because you're certainly not going to get it back once you look away and say, okay, fine, we only appoint one from now on, apparently, then you're ignoring not only the precedent but the written policy, and I think that's concerning. And I think a part of it is that perhaps they weren't happy with our appointment, so you start moving things around in order to try to block it. And they need a few watchdogs over there, I think. You know, again, and the other thing I want to point out real quick, just before we move on, Community Action Agency does a lot of great work in our area, and a lot of good people working over there. So I don't want to cast a shadow necessarily on the entire operation. I just think that we need to keep our two appointments and have an appropriate oversight.
To that end, Community Action is a very important agency in our community. It takes care of some very vulnerable citizens, from the very young to the very old, and it's important that we have oversight over it. And part of the reason that I left the board is for this exact reason. The disregard for bylaws and policies already in place in order to get exactly what the director wants, and doesn't care how it's done as long as it's done. It's frustrating to now see them doing this with our very appointment. I think our chair hit the nail on the head. They don't like who we appointed, so therefore they don't want to see them, and this is them playing shell games.
And I told him, to your point, and I also agree Kathy Twardy will do a wonderful job. And I do think she technically fits the bill as she's an elected official in Chippewa County, even though she was only elected by the city. It still covers that bylaw. But the fact of the matter is, with my schedule, if they want to move those meetings to 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, then pencil me in, because I think community action is very important in Chippewa County. But I also look at a slippery slope where, remember, we wanted Rudy on the War Memorial Board, and they said, nope, sorry. And now we've got another board saying, nope, sorry. This can't keep happening. I mean, we're shirking our responsibility to A, follow the rules, and B, make sure that we have eyes and ears on there, because Commissioner McLean can't always be there. Well, like I said, like you moved, I mean, I like the idea of having two commissioners on here. But I also understand, well, geez, so for Commissioner Martin, we're gonna move the meetings from 1 or 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock for one guy out of 18. That doesn't make a lot of sense either, but, you know, the bad thing for me is I don't get vacation time. I can't leave at 12 o'clock without taking a half day. It just doesn't work for me during the school year, because that is what I was looking at doing, but it's just not feasible to move everybody else's time schedule for me.
Commissioner McLean.
I guess I'm gonna suggest that we find some middle ground here. And I would suggest that we send the community action a letter saying that we will accept this appointment, but when the next round it comes back to the county for an appointment. Rather than disrupting the whole apple cart, going out and finding lawyers and going through a process, a legal process. I'm just saying, let's say, okay, Kathy Twardy will do a good job. She fits all the criteria. And next time when this comes up, which is next January, when we appoint people to various boards, it gives everybody some room to wiggle around and get where we need to be. But I just don't, I'm not really in favor of expending money on a lawyer. They've already got a lawyer, okay? They got the former prosecutor. He's there. So they have a lawyer already. We have to go out and probably, well, we're gonna have to hire a lawyer, Mr. Canello probably again, but we're gonna be expending money on something that I don't think the battle is worth it. I think we just say, okay, we'll accept that you appointed Kathy Twardy, she fits the bill here, but next time the appointments come up, they come back to us.
Well, two things, if I may, and I guess I may. Number one, how we know they would be agreeable to that. Because they could just say, well, no, we're not gonna do that.
Well, then we got a bigger issue.
Yeah, and number two, and I mean this with all respect, if you're overtaxed on all your committees, maybe we could swap. Maybe we could relieve you of that position and move another choice in there.
Somebody wants to take it over, I got no problem.
I'm just looking for, again,
Well,
different options of what we could do.
This is getting into a battle with a skunk, okay? This isn't going to come out. I think we'll just acknowledge that they have found somebody who's a Chippewa County elected official who can do a good job. And if we want to go into it, no, I don't want to go into all that. Because there were other reasons mentioned, but it gets into personalities, and I don't want to get into that.
And I'll disagree with everyone's statement here. She was already on the board. She was already part of the problem. She agreed to the subversion of the bylaws and policies already in place. So to expect them to uphold those bylaws and policies with somebody that has already said it's okay, and admit at the same time that they have the right to appoint whoever they want to their own board is going too far and giving them too much free reign. And I don't expect them to come back after we let them out of the gate.
I'm not so sure if we have to hire an attorney as far as suing them or anything like that, but it wouldn't hurt at this point to retain an attorney just to draft a letter to make them aware that they're in violation and see where it goes.
Well, I think you all got a copy of the letter that I did send that cited their bylaws and the fact that it's written very clearly that the appointments are to be made by the appropriate government official, not some sort of internal appointment, but by a government official, and in this case, the board chair with the concurrence of the commission. And why were you just ignoring that and not following your own bylaws?
But I don't know what their response to your letter was. I read your letter.
I tell you what the response was, but I'm afraid it would have to be censored out of the minutes.
But their response was that if you read further, the part that I saw, if you read further into the bylaws, it says something else again. Okay? That was what I got out of it. So if you read one part, you get here, this is what lawyers make their money on, and this is what judges are intended to do. But I'm saying we can avoid that. Let's just get on with things. Let's just shut this down, get on with business. And you're getting into some accusations that are being made, and I don't think it's worth getting into. Because you start talking about what community action does, they do a lot, and they're involved with a lot of government agencies, okay? They're monitored, they're audited, they're this and they're that. Whatever, in my opinion, it's not worth getting into an argument or battle about.
Nobody's making accusations. It has clearly been stated that they have chosen to go outside of their bylaws and policies. And in doing so, yes, they are overseen by other agencies, but people have to stand up and say, hey, they've gone outside of the bylaws and policies, and they have to be put back in check. And that's what we're doing. We're standing up and saying, hey, you guys have gone outside of your own rules. Time to get back in them.
Well, and I guess the way that you're sort of framing this makes it sound like we're the ones that are being the problem. We're not the problem. There is a vacancy. We sent over a replacement. They refused it. And we said, no, wait a minute. Your bylaws say we make that appointment. We're not the problem here. We just want to seat our replacement that was properly appointed to fill the vacancy. You know, and the thing is, if you can fold up your tent and walk away, but you know, you're letting a situation happen that's not appropriate, and you're letting and you're choosing not to challenge it, and I think that's the issue I have. Is it just it isn't right, you know, and I hate to just look away and say, well, I don't want to bother. The easy thing to do would be to just walk away and say, forget about it. The hard thing to do is say, no, that's not right, and you need to fix it, and you need to do it right.
We're not walking away from it if we send them a letter and say when the appointment comes up again, it's done by the county. Okay, if that's agreed to. The other thing is,
we may very well get the same response we just got to the first letter.
Okay, and the other thing is this we making appointments and people refusing them. Let's go to the War Memorial Hospital Board. You go over there and try to get their bylaws. Okay, they're on our property. Okay, we own the property that War Memorial Hospital sits on. Okay, we have a big deal about that. But I've been on here 10 years. I've asked for information from War Memorial Hospital about their operations or whatever. Nothing. We sent over appointments. They've refused them.
You know, Don, I admire your tactic to try to change the subject.
No, I'm not changing the subject, but I'm saying you said
let
precedent
me point out
set.
to you that the policies and the procedure at War Memorial Hospital is that the county does not make direct appointments. The county makes recommendations, and the actual appointment is not done by the county. So it's a different process. The procedures and policies for community action, the county does make the direct appointments.
I'd like to see that in their bylaws.
You know, Don, I don't know why you want to go here, but you get information every month, and we have meetings every year, and you're invited to, and you don't come. So I don't understand what the issue is.
Well, I'm saying all it is a matter of providing bylaws.
Why don't you come to one of the meetings you're invited to and ask for them? You're invited every year to the audit committee where you can sit down with a full board, ask questions of everybody there, including the audit committee.
I've been there once.
Once.
I had lunch, slip, we're out the door. Anyway, I'll go ahead and do what you need to do.
Well, there you go. I changed the subject.
I was gonna offer a compromise here, but it brings us right back to the same place of, okay, fine, we can have Kathy Twardy, but we get the next appointment. Which is two problems, which brings us right back to Stackpool. And then we are in violation of the bylaws because now we have 3 appointments. Mm-hmm. So then we're in the wrong. I just, and You know, I do agree with Commissioner McLean. I still have problems with them rejecting Rudy, because one of the reasons I was for him is I know he'll stir the pot. And it's one of the reasons why I'm in favor of Tony, because I know he'll stir the pot. And that's part of our job as oversight. Now, I wasn't aware of the fact that, well, I mean, I know that they can reject them. I don't understand why they can't, because Commissioner McLean is exactly correct. They're on our property. And who are they to reject who we send? That's horse manure. But if that's the way it's written and that's the way it's been for half a century, then, you know, how do you change that, or what do you do about that, or why are we even involved then? Because if they can just reject whoever we send over there willy-nilly, then why waste our time? You just appoint your own people and go whatever. But when it hits the fan, it's going to be on them, not on us.
We keep deflecting off of the ultimate thing here, which is, you know, Community Action is a wonderful, wonderful agency in Chippewa, Mackinac County that needs to have oversight and needs to follow its own rules. And when it starts to break its own rules, there's a problem. And that's the ultimate thing here. They've started to break their own rules in order to do whatever they want and get whatever they want. And we need to make sure that this agency that has such wonderful people under its care does what it's supposed to. And one of the ways we do that is we appoint somebody to oversee it. And when you say no to us doing that, you know, you're saying no to the whole process. And it's a slippery slope.
Even if they agreed to, we could have the next appointment, they may not adhere to that agreement.
Right.
We may be right back here. So it's a matter we can't really
It's like giving
overlook.
a bully your lunch money one day and saying, you know, next week I'm not going to give you my lunch money, and then he still comes back to you and says, I want your lunch money. And there's no sense in it.
All right, so where do we go from here?
I read your letter, Chairman. I feel personally we need that from legal counsel. Needs to draft a letter. It's not going to cost us that much money. Make them aware they're in violation of the bylaws, and we'll take it from there. Hopefully we get a response from them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you refuse to pay a dime, you end up paying $1 down the road.
So I'll make that in form of a motion.
I'll support that motion.
Okay, so I guess the motion, if I understand it correctly, is that we retain legal counsel to at least look into the issue and do some work on the issue for us.
And I'd like to be clear, I'm not looking for a war or a battle.
Nobody
with
wants
community
that.
action.
We've had.
That's
we-
not
yeah.
my intent here.
Yeah, the county has had a good cooperative relationship. We worked with them on getting the millage passed for seniors. We've worked with them in the past on the funding that went out to help low-income people fix their homes, and we want to continue a good working relationship. And you know, being able to place 2 members on an 18-member board has always been a part of it, and I think we should be able to keep doing that. So I think the motion is on the floor. Any discussion?
Is there any chance that you and Mr. Paymont, or you and Mr. Oh gosh, I'm brain cramp. McShane
McShane, yeah.
can sit down and hash this
I would-
out
I would be
before
more than-
we get to the legal issue.
I'd be more than willing to.
And maybe if the 2 or 3 of you can sit down and discuss this with Commissioner McLean, 4 of you could get together
Yeah.
and work this thing out. And if that doesn't work,
Yeah.
then I hate to say waste the money on council.
Well, it
But
could be a
if we
part
can
of-
work this out, because we have had a good working relationship and
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
where we're coming from, because you know he's going to hear the gentlemen are going to hear it secondhand and third hand, even in these minutes. So you know,
I think that's
if we
a great
could
idea.
if we could avoid that legal cost,
Yeah.
but I really don't think we can let this go. And you 4 are all gentlemen, and we'll work together on this. And
Don, what do you think of that?
It's fine with me.
Okay, well, you and I and perhaps Mr. German asked to sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk over the issue and see if we can resolve it.
Sounds fine.
Should I resend my,
I would,
My motion?
I think,
We didn't have a second.
I think there'd be the understanding that we're gonna do this first.
Well-
We're gonna try to resolve it, But I would, if you're agreeable, I would like for your motion to go forward. But for us to first, let's see if we can sit down. and
Yeah, I
do
was
it.
gonna say contingent upon how that meeting goes. If the
Yeah.
meeting goes poorly,
Then you have.
then we've got it, we don't have to wait another month for
Yeah.
this.
Mr. German, I know you had to step out for a moment. What Commissioner Martin suggested was that myself and Don meet with the folks over at Community Action, probably yourself as well. Sit down over a cup of coffee and see if we can just hammer it out before we proceed with anything. And it's a common sense idea, and we should have probably thought of that earlier, but let's do it. So, we do have a motion on the floor, though. Everybody understands it? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay.
Nay.
Motion carries with one nay. Boy, we spent a lot more time on that than I thought we were going to.
Yeah.
Let's go on to new business. We have a resolution 1817 UP Area Agency on Aging, Annual Implementation Plan for Services to Older Adults. That is on page 61. If I'm not mistaken, this is something we do annually.
I move we approve resolution 1817.
Support.
Motion made to approve resolution 1817. That is a discussion on the motion before we vote.
Just want to mention that this is a 3-year plan, and we're, I think, in the second or third year of the 3-year plan. And there haven't been any changes, and it operated fine last year.
Okay? And as with all resolutions, that would be a roll call vote.
Commissioner Egan,
Aye.
Commissioner Martin,
Alright,
Commissioner McLean,
Aye.
Commissioner Savoy,
Yes.
and Chairman Shackleton.
Yes, so that resolution passes. Item B, establish special committee. This is regarding the ice breaking issue. We did some research on our policies and procedures and what we do. We don't have a provision for an ad hoc committee, but we have a provision for what's known as a special committee. It's been requested, Mr. German has informed me about a meeting that was held with Mr. Moher and others to try to put together a bit of an organized front to work through this issue. So I'm going to read the following, and this is going to establish a committee. As chairman of the Chippewa County Board of Commissioners, I am directing the formation of a special committee. The committee will be known as the Sugar Island Ferry Committee. The committee is charged with amicably working with all interested parties to ensure ferry passage from Sugar Island to the mainland is maintained on a regular basis with emphasis on the winter months. The committee shall exist for 1 year, beginning on August 1st, 2018. But at the end of the 1 year, the existence of the committee may be extended. Dissolution of the committee will take place after the time period for its existence runs out, at the request of the committee, or if at the discretion of the county board chair, the committee is not properly fulfilling its mission. A typo there on the its. The committee will elect its own chairman and vice chairman as it sees fit. The following people are appointed to serve on the committee at the pleasure of the board chair. Members may be added or removed during the existence of the committee. Those members are Jennifer McLeod, Aaron Schleihuber, Connor Egan, Jack Kibble, Scott Levante, Don McLean, Tony Andery, Steve Canello, Les Leighton, Tim Moher, and Jim German. And signed by myself. And I believe that the committee would be established based on my direction, as long as there is not a objection from the board. So is there any discussion or comments on this line item?
I think it's, if the MOU is undesirable as it stands, this committee would be given the power to renegotiate that? Is that my correct understanding?
Well, the charge to the committee is to work with all interested parties to ensure the ferry passage is maintained, reliably. How to accomplish that is gonna be a bit open-ended. But, I want this committee to work professionally and amicably, and with the understanding of the responsibility that you are a part of Chippewa County as a commission, or as a special committee. So act appropriately, professionally, and, try to get things done. So,
I think this is an important committee, and I think that it would be wise for us to have a vote to show that the full board supports this and that they're operating under the auspices of the full board.
I don't have a problem with that, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's our bylaws. Our bylaws does not call for a vote to establish it. It's called by the chairman.
Well, I guess we could just,
You can all, if you're all in favor, I think you can certainly
That's-
make your feelings known.
vote of
So,
consensus that we approve of this.
I'd support that.
all right, we have a vote of consensus that you're all happy that the chairman did this.
Way to pat yourself on the back.
That's
Well,
right.
I think that's, I
I'm
mean,
being a stickler on process also.
well, and I do, I think if, and Kelly, you read the special committee rules for me, didn't you? Or was it, is it the board chair creates it, or is it a vote of the board?
The board chair creates it.
Okay.
By a 2/3 vote, they could not approve it.
They can say no.
There's nothing
Yeah.
in there that says that
Right.
they need to approve it after you've approved it.
Right, right. And again, I'm just trying to follow the rules.
Let's just acknowledge it and
Okay.
move on.
All right. Well, we had a vote of consensus, but I don't know if such a motion is actually.
That shows that there's more than a 2/3 majority that favor your position.
I don't think there's an appropriate motion that I can recognize. So it's, can we just agree that everybody's agreeable and favors this and they're happy about it?
Yes.
I believe
Yes.
Mrs.
All right.
Knockport has it in the public
Okay.
record,
Yes.
and we're all on
Let-
tape
let the-
supporting it, so,
Let the minutes show that every chairman, every
every
commissioner was pleased and supported this. Okay, we move on to finance, claims, and accounts. Commissioner Martin, take it away.
boy. The regular meeting of Chippewa County Board of Commissioners Finance Claims and Accounts Committee was held on Thursday, July 12th, 2018, at Chippewa County Building in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. I called the meeting to order at 2 o'clock with the quorum present. Myself, Commissioner Shackleton, Commissioner Savoy, Commissioner McLean, and Commissioner Egan were there. There were no members absent. Also in the meeting were Karen Sinkus, Lana Forrest, Missy Robbins, Mike Bittner, Jim German, and Kelly Church. It was moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Savoy, to approve the amended agenda as presented. There was no public comment. We did receive the Treasurer's investment reports, monthly travel reports, Health Department Healthcare First Summary, Visa Billing and MERS conference information, not to mention a notice of Mantron phasing out the Treasury Equalization Building Department programs. We then took a look at the agenda items, Health Department, reviewing alternative medical direction agreement between Chippewa County Health Department and the Luce Mackinac
Alger Schoolcraft.
Elder Schoolcraft, thank you, sir. District Health Department to ensure the alternative medical direction. Moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Savoy, to approve the alternate medical direction agreement between CCHD and LMAS as presented to ensure the statutory mandate of a local health department to provide qualified medical direction for its provision of public health services to provide a no additional county cost backup medical direction. I voice vote that motion carried, and I would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Is there discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, we had an agreement with the medical examiner for facility use between Spectrum Health Hospital and Chippewa County. After short discussions, moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Egan, to approve the Second Amendment to the medical examiner facility use agreement between Spectrum Health Hospital and Chippewa County as presented for autopsy services, and a voice vote that motion carried, and I would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Is there discussion on that motion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, we had two pass-through requests on the pink ribbon account. After a short discussion of the great work that they do, it's moved by Commissioner Savoy, supported by Commissioner Shackleton, to approve pink ribbon request number 18-08 in the amount of $732.43, and to request hashtag number 18-09 in the amount of $1,310.40 on a voice vote. That motion carried. Now would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Is there discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, we had family planning program policies. Not really necessarily new policies, but new for us as we deal more and more with the health department. As such, it was moved by Commissioner Egan, supported by Commissioner Savoy, to approve new policies as presented. Policies 4.05.013, IUD placement, 4.05.014, IUD removal, 4.05.015, IUD complications missing strings, 4.05.016, identifying IUD candidates, 4.05.017, IUD complications perforation, 4.05.018 IUD complications delayed menses, 4.05.019 IUD complications abnormal bleeding. Our voice vote, that motion carried. Now would so move.
Support.
Wow. Motion made and supported. Is there discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, we had to release an RFQ on 6 Microsoft Surface Pro 4 tablets and accessories. Moved by Commissioner Egan, supported by Commissioner McLean, to approve the release of the RFQ for 6 Microsoft Surface Pro 4 tablets with accessory, and motion on a voice vote. The motion carried. Now would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported to give Microsoft some business, although that's just the RFQ. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, we had Department of OES 2015 Stone Garden, $13,338 and 1 penny for 4 Motorola portable radios. But due to a sole provider provision, we had to waive the county policy. After a short discussion, it was moved by Commissioner Savoy, supported by Commissioner McLean, to authorize $13,319.87 expenditure to purchase 4 Motorola Apex 4000 portable radios, which include battery and speaker mic, from the 2015 Stone Garden funds, and to waive the county purchasing policy because sole source provider with the SOM. On a voice vote, the motion carried. Now would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Any discussion on that one? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, Simplex Grinnell through the Sheriff's Department and upgrade. The current detention via Tyco Simplex Grinnell will include computer upgrades for the Sergeant's office and the main control center. Therefore, it was moved by Commissioner Savoy, supported by Commissioner McLean, to reauthorize the budgeted upgrade of the DP detention Indusoft provided by Simplex Grinnell at a cost not to exceed $16,574.21, and waiving the county's purchasing policy for the upgrade. On a voice vote, that motion carried, and I would so move.
Motion made and supported. Any discussion on that? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, the administrator suggested that we should join a class action suit about Payment in Lieu of Taxes Act with basically nothing for us to lose and everything to gain. It was decided, in fact, moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Savoy, to authorize participation in the class action lawsuit regarding the Pilt Out Act for fiscal years 2015, 2016, 2017, and to authorize signature of the class action opt-in notice form. A voice vote, that motion carried. Now would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Is there discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, the administrator informed us that Meyer was going to file with the Lansing Tax Tribunal Court for relief from property taxes up to 25% discount. The county potentially losing $13,610.99, but that is per year, every year, and therefore we decided that we needed to discuss this today, which we will do shortly. But in that meeting, it was moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Egan, to authorize participation with the City of Sault Ste. Marie in the UPISD to join a similar joint defense agreement. Cost sharing, county 32%, city 66%, and 2% UPISD. Regarding the Meyer Tax Tribunal, on a voice vote, that motion carried, and I would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Is there discussion? We can go, I think some people were mentioning that they'd like to discuss this. And when we say similar, I think what we're saying, it's similar to what we did with the, Walmart case that, and we worked with the city and we're successful. And hopefully we'll have similar results here. But Commissioner McLean.
This is, really frustrating that we have to go through this process again. And I want to publicly mention that this issue has been formed into laws that would, or bills that would address it. And those bills have passed through the Michigan House, it's my understanding. They arrived in the Senate, and the Senate, pretty much from what we understand, is in favor of it. But there's a chairman of a Senate committee, a senator, I can't remember his name. Brandenburger, I knew it started with a B, who simply refuses to even bring it up in his committee, won't let it out of the committee, therefore it dies. And I'll engage in a little bit of character assassination here and say it's my understanding that senator receives tremendous amounts of campaign contributions from, and I'll also throw a rock at this group, the Chamber of Commerce is part of that group that doesn't want that to be corrected. Now, we stand here to lose a few $13,000 a year. Marquette has been through the process. They started this battle against the dark stores thing, and I believe their losses are in the millions now because it was followed by Menards, Walmart, everything big up there has gone through the process. Escanaba is right in the middle of it now, okay? We were spared it because I believe, where's the camera? I believe that last year when Myers was coming in, Walmart decided this wasn't an opportune time to continue with that process. But we now have Myers, we have Walmart, I think is lining up to do it, and Cascade Crossings are lining up to do that. One behind the other, they're going to save some money. It's going to cost us a bundle of money to do that. I am a member of UPCAP. That's one of the meetings I go to in Escanaba every couple of months. And we recently agreed to contribute $10,000 towards the battle that Marquette is going through. Their battle is up to $150,000 now or something like that, as a UP group to support them in their battle, because if they were to succeed in that, I believe our question would be null and void, because the precedent would be set in Escanaba, which I hope they get done long before we need to go into this too far. So and the other thing is how much this costs us. When we look at services to our constituents, $13,000. If we had $13,000 every time we needed it, the world would be a better place. So I'll let go at that.
It's not just a loss of the $13,000. It needs to be made up by other citizens, if I'm not correct. So it's not just, Myers not paying $13,000 worth of taxes. It means that everybody else in the county has to cover that $13,000. So that's coming out of your pockets. We welcomed, as a community, we welcomed Meyer. And it was nice to have, a little bit of downstate come up here and maybe, some choices. But we shouldn't be having to fight over something that they agreed to by coming here. They agreed to pay their taxes. And they want a tax rate that isn't fair, because the little companies, the local little companies don't get a chance at this. I have no problem with tax breaks, but they should be fair and honest, and this isn't fair and honest, and it's important that, we stand up to it.
I am just beside myself. I've talked to some people in the city and our legislators. Meyer has made a calculated effort here. They did have an agreement that if the tax level drops to a certain point, then they're on the hook for those improvements. Myers has, with their request, going to stay just barely above that absolute minimum, so they're not on the hook. So not only do not only does local government lose $100,000 in revenue, they're still on the hook. The city of Sault Ste. Marie, myself included as a taxpayer in the city, is on the hook for all that work out there on the other side of I-75. We're going to pay for all that, plus give them a $100,000 tax break. And then on top of that, we've got Cascades LLC, who is looking for a 65% tax cut. 65%. That's well over $250,000 that will not go into the coffers or will actually come out of fund equity in Chippewa County. For a company based out of Southfield, it's again, and we've got Walmart with their first round, money going to Arkansas. Now we've got Meyer money from our community, because generally this is back taxes. Now that money's going to go for Myers to Grand Rapids. And then we've got Cascade Crossing going to take $335,000 and take that to Southfield. Well, great for Southfield. We just don't have the tax base to make this up. I just don't get it, because all these corporations just got an income tax cut from 35% to 21%. How would you guys like that? How would you like your income taxes to go down 40% and your property taxes go down 65%? Well, it's great. When you call 911, there won't be a phone line. There won't be anyone at the other end. Fact of the matter is, they can't keep piling on and piling on and piling on. They're already not paying personal property taxes. Now I'm getting off subject, but we've got 1031 coming in where consumers in DTE want $750 million taxpayer dollars in their pocket, like they're hurting. And I'm just tired of it. Corporate giveaway after corporate giveaway after corporate giveaway, when it's small businesses like Tanglewood, like the Mole Hole, like Cup of the Day, like Leitz's, that provide 2/3 of the jobs in the state is small business. And the tax cut from Trump, if you Schedule C, your income tax goes from 15% to 21%. Small business got a tax break 25% to 21%. But corporate America got 35% to 21%. That's a 40% saving in income tax. And Walmart's the only corporation that I'm aware of that actually gave like 10% of that to their employees, some of their employees. All the rest of them, Myers, on down the line, is taking our taxpayer, our tax money, and put it in their pocket. And put it in their pocket. While small businessmen like Mr. Bonacci struggle. Because the breaks aren't for them. The breaks are for people who provide 1/3 of the jobs in this country, not the 2/3 of the jobs in this country, which is what small business is. And it's just not right. So when you go and vote in November, think about that. Think about that. Because it's just not right. All we're asking is everybody pay their fair share. Why should Leitz's pay twice per square foot in property taxes versus Walmart or Myers? They've already got a competitive advantage. And we're sticking with the people that are our neighbors, that support our schools and our sports. And those people are getting left in the dust, and I'm just tired of it. Absolutely sickened by it. Handout after handout after handout. And I hope that Mr. Chatfield and Senator Schmidt will make their voices heard. Yes, in an election year. Stand up for us. Stand up for the little guys. Okay, I'll get off my box.
Okay. And everybody said, covered all of the major points. I just got a couple other points to make. One is that if you look at the Eastern Upper Peninsula, and certainly the city of Sault Ste. Marie, you look at the major employers in our area, most of them don't pay property tax. You look at the Corps of Engineers, the university, the school system, the hospital, all these places are all tax exempt.
National Forest.
And when I have hosted people from outside our community, from other parts of the state, who are involved in government, and shown them around Sault Ste. Marie and the rest of the Eastern Upper Peninsula, they say, how do you pay your tax? How do you support your infrastructure? Nobody here pays taxes. So the people who do pay taxes, small businesses, retail outlets, so we can't afford to lose any of them. And part of the deal is that if you're in this area, you have to pay a fair share of property tax. And the dark stores is letting you off the hook, and you're not paying a fair share. So I agree with you 100%. And it'd be easy to walk away from it, but you can't. You gotta fight it. You gotta do what's right. The thing that I think may bring a smile to your face is that Mr. Brandenburg in the Senate is done at the end of this year and cannot run for reelection. I would not characterize him necessarily as being evil. I would just characterize him as being wrong. I don't agree with him. He's wrong, but I think he thinks he's right, and he thinks he's right because he believes that low taxes are going to mean more jobs and stronger businesses. Well, that's all fine and good, but you got to run local government, and provide an infrastructure too. So we all have to pay a fair share, and so I think we all talked this issue to death, and we'll do it just a little bit more.
Well, I remember when we had our discussion in finance, the other thing, I wouldn't be as charitable to Mr. Brandenburg as you are. Okay. The mention was that this package would be equivalent to a patrol car. Am I right? Was that mentioned?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, when they get all said and done, the bunch of them, okay, they're all lined up that every year, that's the equivalent to a patrol car.
Or one person's salary. I mean,
Yeah.
In
So-
perpetuity, and we never get it back.
Yep.
We can't do like other states where they can retroactively, if Cascade Crossing does fill those storefronts, if they get this huge, because they've got an empty spot, we can't say, oh, well, that's full now, so we can reassess you. No, the money's gone, it's gone forever.
Gone forever, I think, is the real point. There's no adjusting this afterwards,
No.
according to other state laws.
All right, so the motion is, again, that we join in with the other taxing entities, the largest of which is the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and cooperate in a joint defense agreement. All in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote nay. Motion carries. Back to your report.
Okay, next we have personal policy clarification. Generally speaking, housekeeping here, to confirm personal action regarding new hires, replacement staff, current positions specifically with regards to the health department. Again, as we go through this process of taking over the health department, it was moved by Commissioner Shackleton, supported by Commissioner Egan, to clarify that the health department vacancies will be handled the same as all county departments, and the personnel will still oversee the new positions, wages, and benefits. On a voice vote, that motion carried. Now, so moved.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Any discussion?
yeah, I'd just like to clarify that we didn't take over the health department. We just have taken a more active role in the health department.
That's
Probably,
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I mean,
Yes.
the health department has always been a part of county government. We had a health board, and sort of were not that actively involved at our board level, and now we are. So, all in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, finally, our point of entry roof structure for the safety of all of our constituents and employees. After going through the bid process, 3 companies did go through the walkthrough. There was unfortunately only one bid, but that bid came in at $47,000. Consequently, it was moved by Commissioner Shackleton, supported by Commissioner Svoy, to approve the bid of $47,000 from Bonacci Contracting Incorporated, stipulation clarifying the design and materials to be used for the point of entry roof structure. On a voice vote, that motion carried, and I would so
I
move.
will support it, but I have some discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not quite over with.
Yeah, yeah.
Roof that never ends.
The roof.
We had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Bonacci, our general contractor. There are some concerns, steel versus aluminum. Number one, the aluminum bed is about 8,000 roughly, more than the steel. The manufacturer will not build or design the metal roof without another engineering study, which the last one cost us $4,900 or $5,000. He is recommending we go the approved engineering study, which is aluminum. There are several key points to go that way. One is the corrosion with the steel. It's going to, there's moisture in the block, and it's going to seep and discolor the building, and it is a historic building. The other thing is it's going to have to be painted probably every 3, 4, 5 years anyway. The aluminum will, appearance-wise, look a lot better on a historic building, and it's essentially maintenance-free, so I don't know the procedure here, do I make a
Well-
motion, or?
Yeah, let me just point out that this bid was $8,000 less than the original bid, is that right, about the right number? The problem is that, this bid was for steel instead of for aluminum, and the original bid was for aluminum. If we went with this bid, we have to go back and have it re-engineered. So, which is gonna eat up at least half of your savings from going to steel. So I think what, Commissioner Savoy and I had discussed at the beginning of the meeting was, let's just go back to the original bid, which is an additional $8,000. And again, correct me if I'm misstating any numbers here, but go back up to the original bid from Mr. Bonacci, which is an additional $8,000, but is the aluminum roof. We already have a current engineering study that is valid and will work for it, and it's a better product. So that would require, you could restate your motion if you like to be that, and then it would have to be supported by the person who
So do we have
supported
to
it.
rescind it?
Sorry?
Do we have to rescind it then?
You know, he can just restate it.
Amend it.
He can just restate it as, if you're
Okay,
agreeable. with it.
So,
It'd be, so it's 56, right?
Excuse me, could I have?
Sure, go ahead.
I guess we're assuming, like at least I'm gathering that we're assuming that to have it re-engineered, it's gonna cost another $4,900.
It might be less.
I can't see where there has to be a whole lot of re-engineering done, because they've got the structure designed, and replacing the definition or the call-out for steel instead of aluminum shouldn't cost another whole study. They've got all the structures measured out and everything. If we went to the same company, have we approached the engineering company and said that if we have to move from aluminum to steel, what would it cost for you to make that change? You know, engineering drawings are updated without any fuss, amended fairly easily. I'm thinking that if this was gonna cost us more than $500 to have the engineering study done, that we'd be better off with
I
the,
think though that it's pretty clear that aluminum is the superior product and more desirable. It's already an expensive project, and, you know, I'm all in favor of not making it more expensive, but there's another side that says, you know what, just hold your nose and do it right.
We
And
have
I think
another
that's
issue,
where we're
is
at.
there's steel and aluminum prices increasing rapidly. And he has the commitment, our general contractor, if we take some action now, they'll hold that price to stay within our beds. We're gonna lose our window of opportunity here. We beat this thing for 6 months.
Just about a year.
Yeah,
It's
we have
coming,
beat this-
coming close to a year.
We have beat this thing so long, and if we start pushing it down the road again and looking at another engineering study, you know, I was never impressed with the first design. I mean, why wouldn't we go to get a design that we all liked and is more amenable? Or we could just go with what we have and get it done the right way the first time and be done with this thing, instead of be dealing with it when the snow falls again. Because if we start getting new engineering studies, nothing but time.
time is money.
Mr. Martin, what's your pleasure? It's
All
your
right,
motion.
I'm trying to think how to word this.
What was the original quote? 55 or 56?
50, I thought it was 55, was
Can we
the
just say
original
to
with
go with the
aluminum.
Why don't we just go with the original quote?
Just say
instead of
go with the
putting a number?
original bid provided by Mr. Bonacci.
So we are looking to approve a bid of $55,000 from the original aluminum bid from Bonacci Contracting. The stipulation of clarifying the design materials to be used for the point, which actually I just said, of entry roof structure. And I voice vote that motion, I would so move.
Support.
Can't really say.
The original motion was made by Mr. Martin and supported by Commissioner Savoy. You've just restated it, and Commissioner Savoy would need to affirm his continued support for the motion.
Support.
Okay, So the motion is to go back to the original proposal from Bonacci Construction, which was an aluminum roof and was a bit more expensive than what we've most recently looked at.
How will the aluminum hold up though compared to the steel when
Better.
that comes crashing? The
Better.
aluminum is
Don't
not
even
strong.
give and
We
push
got
back.
we got a 2-year warranty, and Mr. Benacci has assured me that aluminum is as strong as the steel.
If he's willing to back up for 2 years, I'm sold.
It's a half-inch thick, and it's a
Oh.
very,
Yeah, we're not screwing
Oh,
around
so
here.
it's not like my tin roof on the cabin?
No.
No, okay, all right then, we're good.
Good.
Okay, so we have the motion clarified to go with the aluminum roof, that was a bit more money. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Amen.
Go Bills, roof.
All right. Next, the committee received and reviewed Sugar Island's proposed new master plan. Moved by Commissioner Egan, supported by Commissioner Savoy, to acknowledge receipt of the Sugar Island proposed master plan with no comments. On a voice vote, that motion carried. Now with so moved.
Support.
Motion made and supported that we acknowledge the Sugar Island master plan. Is there any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, we had the MEDC CDBG program income certification of $33,280. Basically, this is, we're having what, a third party administer new projects with the county receiving less than $35,000. This is a program that is, I believe, fixing to end. Unfortunately, as such, it was moved by Commissioner Savoy, supported by Commissioner McLean, to approve and authorize sending the program income certification form 8H indicating PI received between July 1st, 2017 and June 30th, 2018 in the amount of $33,281.10, which is lowering the threshold to return the funds to MEDC and eliminates compliance and reporting once we receive confirmation from MEDC. On a vote, the motion carried, and I would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Any discussion on that one? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, we,
Good Lord, the end is near.
thank you, Lord. Next, we looked at the renewal language for the animal protection millage, which will be on the November ballot.
You do not have to read it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You can read it in the minutes. Mrs. Melport is typing diligently. So we read this, and on a voice vote, motion carried to approve the wording on the November ballot of the animal protection renewal millage. I would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported to approve the animal protection language for the November ballot. Is there discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Then we agreed to pay the bills. Moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Egan, to recommend the approval of June bills and payroll as follows. General claims totaling $232,827.98. Other fund claims of $758,384.50. Payroll of $505,859.17. Health Department claims of $292,633.66. And a Health Department payroll of $215,209.68 for total claims of $2,004,914.99. And vouchers H1 through H237. On a voice vote, that motion carried. Now would so move.
Motion made and supported over here to pay the vouchers and claims and all the bills. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Next, fund balance audit and finance budget amendments. No, we can't put those together, can we? Beginning fund balance audit, moved by Commissioner Savoy, supported by Commissioner McLean, to approve the beginning fund balances presented from the fiscal year 2017 audit. On voice vote, that motion carried. Now would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next,
That-
budget amendments,
Go ahead.
changes to the final
Take
budget.
it away.
We went through those and the reasons why we had to amend those amounts, the overruns, and whatnot. As we're halfway through the year, we have a better handle of where we're at in the budget. After that discussion, moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Egan, to approve the budget amendments as presented. On voice vote, that motion carried. Now would so move.
Support.
Motion made and supported. Any discussion on that? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Lastly, we had some comments on ice-breaking special committee, and it was then moved by Commissioner McLean, supported by Commissioner Savoy, to adjourn. Consequently, I would make a motion that we accept the finance meeting minutes as presented.
Support.
Motion made and supported to accept the Finance Claims and Accounts Committee meeting minutes of July 12th, 2018. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We moved through Finance Claims and Accounts. That was a lot to go through. Good job, Commissioner Martin. We move to number 12, Commissioner Report on Meetings as Board Representative and General Comments. Mr. McLean.
Okay, I attended the St. Mary's River Ice Committee that is now a special committee of the, of this board. And it was a very informative meeting. There were a number of things that were brought up, as Mr. Moher pointed out here. And we have a lot of work to do, but we want to make sure that we do what we can to ensure safe passage and easy passage between the mainland and Sugar Island, the mainland and Nevish Island, and the mainland and Drummond Island. It's all incorporated there. I also attended a meeting of the UPCAP, which I'm a member of, and I commented earlier on that. But there's also another branch of that that's called the Upper Peninsula Legislative Coalition. County commissioners are going to meet, I believe, 4 times a year. They're going to call it in conjunction with our spring conference and fall conference, but they're looking to, I guess, put more emphasis on the impact of the Upper Peninsula relative to legislation. And they're reviewing legislation and numbers of things there. There was also at that meeting that Friday that I went up, a week ago Friday, the UP Energy Committee is still active. We had a long presentation with that. Also in our minutes here relative to the indigent, I never get that right.
Indigent.
Okay. There's going to be a meeting in Schoolcraft County for the Upper Peninsula regarding that. And I would really hope that our administrator would make an attempt to be there on July 30th. We should approve that because they're coming up from downstate to explain and take answers and on the other changes that are coming up in that policy. And I think it's important that we be represented there at that meeting at Manistee.
I would just suggest that the administrator take a close look at that meeting. If you feel it's appropriate to attend, know that the board's going to support you on that. Because we will at some point have to formally approve the travel expense, but if you think it's a good idea and good to go, then you should go.
Well, I wanted to point that out because it's rare that they come up across a bridge to explain anything. And this is something that could cost us big bucks.
I mean,
So
that
we need to be
they acknowledge
in
that there's something above the bridge, and the bridge doesn't go to nowhere?
Just trees.
I remember, they just tell you real quick, I remember one time they said they were coming up north for the convenience of the northern people. I said, well, where? They said, Claire. I said, Claire? You said, you might as well just have it in Lansing. Are you done, Commissioner McLean?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, just a quick one. You know, I got to be part of that ice breaking committee, and I'm also on the UPTA board, and I look forward to making sure that I fulfill both roles and that both committees find a way to work together to serve the people of those communities that, you know, are affected by these ice problems. The other thing is you know, something got muddied in the discussion we had about community action. Never has this been about what community action does. Community action does a wonderful, wonderful job, and is a very important thing. Nowhere has anybody tried to besmirch the people working in community action. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been some problems with the way the board has handled all of its business. And it is important that we hold the board to the high standards that we do every other board.
Anyone else?
Yep, unfortunately. First thing I wanted to mention was Senate Bill 1031, which may or may not be DOA. It's being looked at, but I'm a firm believer in follow the money. And Senator Pro's his top two, in 1031 is I think, $11.9 billion in property, in personal property of utilities will not be taxed, which turns into a $750 million windfall for them. But Senator Cruz, his top two contributors is DTE and Consumers Energy. And I'm a firm believer in follow the money. It is hopefully something that's not going to pass because they're already not paying personal property tax on their other stuff. But they are these utility companies, and it's going to hurt Chippewa County. They're just not going to pay taxes on anything.
What's the bill number?
1031, Senate Bill 1031. It did come out of the committee. MAC has opposed it. I'm sure UpCap has also. The other thing was resolution I noticed from 5 different counties on House Bill 6049 and Senate Bill 1025. I don't ever remember seeing in our packet that many. So I called to find out what the problem was, and long story short, it would be like if all of a sudden Lansing said, you can't be a police officer in the state of Michigan unless you've got a 4-year degree, or you can't be a teacher in the state of Michigan unless you've got a PhD. I mean, it's like they have all these level 3, 4, and 5 assessors that we just don't have access to.
Yeah.
We have, I think, 1 level 4 in the whole county and 2 level 3s in the whole county, and the one of them is going to retire. I mean, to put that burden on us, that means we're going to have to hire these people at a premium. Because if you don't have this level of assessor, like I said, I didn't know what any of this stuff was, and I noticed, my gosh, we got one from Huron County and one from Kent County. It's just all opposed to these 2 bills, like I haven't seen. Like I said, I did a little homework on it. I'm like, holy cow, that's going to be an immediate problem for us trying to, we have enough trouble getting people up here, but now there's going to be a run on people with, especially that 3-4 certificate, which we don't have. I don't know what our townships will do. There's only 1 township assessor that's certified in the whole of Chippewa County, and I can't imagine Lucer Schoolcraft's in any better shape. But that's something we need to maybe for the next meeting or talk with our representatives about that. This would be a huge unfunded mandate, and both Senator Schmidt and Representative Chatfield are big on unfunded mandates. This would be a chance to put the money where the mouth is and beat this thing down. And the other thing I did want to tell my colleagues, I think I have cross-country camp next month, so finance I will probably not be at. I've got to check my calendar. But
Well, we just won't have one. We'll just skip it.
Oh, no, I was going to put it on Connor here. So.
Okay, well, thanks for that.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
That Senate Bill 1031, it's come out of Senate committee, has not been acted on by the full Senate yet, and is not, so of course has not been referred to the House yet. But you're right, that it's a huge amount of money. I don't see how they can pass that. I mean, I'm surprised it came out of committee, because that's a major financial impact, that bill is. It's tons of money.
You want to hear the practicality of where the rubber is not going to meet the road? Go have a conversation with Miss Kennedy about it. She can tell you on how they won't, what they have planned in there won't even work. I mean, it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
She's pretty fired up.
Okay, anyone else? Are we good?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, good luck, Bob.
I got to go deal with
I'm thinking that's all I can do.
Karen, see you later.